version 14, I believe it did. Maybe version 13, but I know for sure version 14 is definitely in there. So this is going to be used not only for advanced web, but also for SSLO configurations and APM configurations. So you may see this template, this workflow with other modules on Big IP. So the guide config is, once again, it's like a workflow template that allows you to deploy policies. There's two policies you can deploy within guide configuration on advanced WAF. One is for web app protection. One is for behavioral DOS protection. Okay, we're going to do both in this class. Okay. But I'm concentrating more on the web app protection for right now. So under the hood, the policy guidelines for guide configuration for advanced web is really the same as rapid deployment. So if you use guide configuration policy, the default policy will be rapid deployment. And if you're doing behavioral DOS, then you would use the layer 7 DOS profiles for behavioral DOS protection. Okay. And of course, it also guides you, it also is like a menu that will guide you to create your virtual server and your port. So think of it like a menu-driven template. That's really what it is. Okay. And those of you who know IAPs, under the hood is really creating an IAP. It's really that's what it's doing. It's creating an IAP for your policy. If any of you guys are going to be configuring SSLO, then guide configuration not only creates an IAP, it also creates iRules under the hood. So I may talk about SSLO a little bit more on Friday if we have time. This is a really, really good feature that is fairly new to Big IP, and a lot of customers are adopting this concept of SSL orchestrator. So I discuss that more on Friday. And once you have built your policy with guide configuration, now you can go in and you can configure things like bot detection or web scraping, right? Where you can go in and look at any kind of bad actors that may try to access your web application. You can do whitelisting, blacklisting. So that's all involved in the security policy. So just wanted to show you guys that. We're not going to use this in any lab, but just wanted to kind of talk about the guide configuration in general, not for just advanced web, but for the entire Big IP product. So any questions, guys, on guide configuration? Okay, I just want to ask a question. Is anyone doing SSLO now in their environments? Okay, all right, cool. So yeah, that's even more. Okay, so I definitely talk about that on Friday for sure. Okay, so let's move on. All right. So remember we talked about rapid deployment. That is the most common policy building method that customers are using out in the field. So rapid deployment allows us to do several checks. We make sure the request is compliant to the RFC spec, meaning that the request headers are common known header values, right? We also deploy attack signatures for negative security logic to block any kind of attacks that are based on certain patterns. We allow certain response codes, right? There's some that we block, but we allow some. We also allow certain HTTP methods by default, get, head, and post. Those are some security checks that we use for rapid deployment. But another security check that is on by default, well, that can be used for rapid deployment is what we call, let me go through the slides here. So compliance checks, once again, we make sure that the protocol is compliant. Now, let me show you guys, actually, let me do this here because this is actually very, very useful, especially for developers. Let's see here. Oops. There we go. I just want to show you the different security checks for the RFC compliance. Okay, so if you go to security, well, I'm here right here. So security, policy building, learning blocking settings, and you want to go to the advanced configuration. Okay? And if you click on protocol compliance, so here, guys, all of the different checks that we do to make sure the protocol is compliant. Okay? This is very useful because you want to, if you keep getting protocol compliance failed violations, then you want to go to your developer and say, developer, I'm getting these violations based on the code, right? Because a lot of this is really application code based type entities, like, do you accept certain versions, the header values, right? We're looking at chunking requests. So this is very useful for developers, right? So if they're writing bad code, as it bad meaning it doesn't really meet the RFC spec, then you will continually get protocol compliance fail violations over and over again. Just kind of want to show you guys the different kind of checks here. Also, since I'm on this screen here, a good place to go in and view all the violations in one location, if you click on blocking settings, then here, guys, are all the violations that can be triggered within a policy. So you can see quite a bit here. And depending on how you build your policy, some violations will be enabled by default. Okay. So you remember this right here is rapid deployment policy that I have configured on my advanced web. But notice, guys, you remember the certain checks, like the methods, these flags are turned on by default. So we're going to do security checks on methods. We're going to do security checks on blacklisting of compliance fail, convert character, evasion techniques, making sure the cookies haven't been tampered with. So these are all checks that can be done with rapid deployment, the default checks for rapid deployment. So depending on how you build your policy, certain violations will be enabled by default. Also, while I'm here, and I'm jumping ahead, no doubt, but while I'm here, remember I talked about how you can be in blocking mode and not block on anything at all? Right? So what I can do here, I'm in blocking mode right now. What I can do on this screen, I can go in and say, you know what? Let's turn off my block flag. Whoops. For all my violations. So now I'm in blocking mode, but I'm not blocking on any violations. Right? Well, I can say now, you know what? I'm getting a lot of illegal URL violations. Let me go ahead and start blocking these violations. So I only block illegal URL. Then you may notice I'm getting a lot of failed to convert character violations. I can say, you know what? Let's go and start blocking on failed to convert character. This, guys, a good way to be in blocking mode and only block on individual violations only. Those violations that may be triggered over and over again. Questions, guys, into this? Okay, all right, good. I know I kind of went off track here, but I just kind of wanted to show you all that while I was on the screen. Okay, so let's jump back into the slides here. Where was I? Can't remember. Okay, here I was. Okay, so we talked about protocol compliance, right? Once again, they're doing checks to make sure that the requests adhere to and the web application also adheres to the RFC specs. Okay, next are your attack signatures. Once again, now we're looking for specific strings and patterns that can make your web application vulnerable. Okay, here, guys, is the shell shock signature that we used whenever shell shock first came out. I think that's what, maybe a year or two ago. Very, very widespread attack, but this signature mitigated the shell shock attack. This signature right here. So we have signatures on by default whenever you use rapid deployment. Now, if they're in staging, they're not enforced. So you must take them out of staging to enforce them, but the signatures are applied to the rapid deployment policy. we allow certain response codes. So 1XX we allow. Notice, guys, we don't allow 4XX to 5XX. We don't allow those response codes. If I see that response code coming from a server back to Advanced Web will trigger a violation. Now, it could be a false positive, right? But it would trigger a violation. The same for methods. We talked about the methods that Advanced Web will accept, allow by default, right? So get, post, and head methods are allowed by default within rapid deployment policies. Actually, any policy will allow these methods, whether it be rapid deployment, comprehensive fundamental, any policy will allow these three methods by default. Now, another feature of of rapid deployment is what we call data guard. So data guard allows us to scrub sensitive data in the response. So in other words, I can mask credit card numbers. I can also mask custom patterns. I think, Paul, you guys in Canada, you guys don't use Social Security numbers. I think you use employee IDs, right? So you want to create a custom pattern for your environment. So,
sorry.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I just instead of Social Security, you're saying we use what?
I thought you guys use employee IDs.
Oh, not for work. No, they're SIN numbers, security. Okay. No, social insurance numbers.
That's it. Yeah. Now, I knew you guys didn't use Social Security numbers. I knew it was something different. Yeah. Yeah. So for that, you would create a custom pattern to go in and match on those different numbers.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. But the pattern must be a regular expression. So you must configure a regular expression to match those patterns.
Oh, so the custom patterns are all regular expressions?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so by default, guys, data guard is turned off. Okay, and the reason being is that whenever you turn data guard on, if you notice the enforcement mode, it says I want to look for all responses and look for any kind of patterns in all responses, which can put a lot of overhead on Advanced Web. So if you turn data guard on, we recommend to only look at URLs that contain the sensitive data, right? Like login.php or account.php, right? So all those URLs that contain the sensitive data, you want Advanced Web to scrub those responses. You don't want Advanced Web to scrub all responses because once again, that puts more overhead on the box. So you enable data guard, then by default, it's going to go and enable credit card number matching and U.S. Social Security number matching. And you can also mask that data. Okay. You can either mask the data or block the response. Either one, you can't do both. Either mask the data in response or block the response. Most customers will mask the data in the response versus blocking the entire response. Now, one thing also that we can do, which I haven't really seen yet, is that, and I haven't really tested this out, is that, let's say, for instance, in the response, you have an attachment like a file. Advanced Web can go and look within that file to see any kind of sensitive information in that file and trigger a violation based on that. Okay, so I haven't really tested that yet, but I hear it works. Once again, I need to test that just to verify that. That seems very intrusive to me, but I need to test that to see. Okay, whoops. And here are the different detection, file content detection methods that we can look at: Office, MS Office files, PDF files, ELF files, to go in and view those files and look within the file for any kind of sensitive information within that file. So once again, as far as the enforcement method for data guard, either I can mask that data or I can block the entire response. It's either one or the other. Okay, questions, guys, on rapid deployment, data guard, anything at all? Okay. So as I mentioned earlier in the very beginning of the class, guys, this is day one is more of a foundation. So really today we're going to get out relatively early because we've already gone through all of day one material, and I don't want to really jump ahead. But really, in most cases, day one is an early day because it's more of a foundation, and you guys already know LTM objects. You guys know HTTP. You know vulnerabilities. So this will be the last lab today. Okay. We'll pick up first thing tomorrow morning with policy building, policy tuning. So a lot more to come, guys. We have a lot more deep dive material to come. But today we're in a little bit early. Okay. So any questions, guys, before we do the next lab and we call it a day? No? Okay. Okay, so guys, last lab today. This lab begins on page